What if I told you that a simple act of kindness, something as small as changing a flat tire, could completely change the course of your life? This is the story of a young boy who stopped to help a stranger on the side of the road. What he didn't know was that the man he helped was a millionaire, and what happened next would transform his future forever. Stick around because this is one story you'll never forget. It all began on a scorching summer afternoon, the kind of day where the heat shimmered above the road like invisible waves. The small country road was usually quiet, lined with tall grass and the occasional tree offering shade. 14-year-old Marcus was trudging along the dusty path, his worn-out sneakers kicking little clouds of dirt with every step. His backpack hung loosely from one shoulder, weighed down not just by books, but by the long day at school and the thought of chores waiting for him at home. That's when something unusual caught his eye. Up ahead, a car stood awkwardly by the roadside. It wasn't just any car. It gleamed black under the sun, polished to perfection even with dust on the wheels. Marcus could tell instantly it was expensive, the kind of car he had only seen in magazines or passing by on the highway. Its hazard lights blinked steadily, a quiet signal of trouble. Beside the car stood a man in a crisp navy suit, his tie slightly loosened and a sheen of sweat on his forehead. He looked out of place against the dusty road, like someone who belonged in a high-rise office, not stranded in the middle of nowhere. His frustration was clear. He checked his phone, shook his head, looked around, and tried again, only to find no signal out here. Marcus slowed his pace, curiosity mixing with hesitation. The man's face tightened with annoyance as he glanced at the completely flat tire, clearly not sure what to do. From the look of his polished shoes and spotless hands, it was obvious he wasn't used to fixing cars himself. Marcus thought about just walking past. After all, he was just a kid. But then his grandmother's words echoed in his head, the rule she'd repeated to him since he was little. If you see someone in need, help them. Kindness costs nothing. Taking a deep breath, Marcus stepped forward. His voice was steady but respectful as he called out, "Sir, do you need help with the tire?" The man turned, surprised to see such a young boy standing there. You know how to change one?" Marcus nodded with quiet confidence. "My uncle taught me last year. I can do it." The man hesitated. He looked Marcus up and down, then sighed in relief. "Well, I'd appreciate it. I've got an important meeting to get to." Marcus set his backpack on the ground without another word and got to work. He loosened the bolts with quick, practiced movements, slid the jack into place, and lifted the car carefully. Beads of sweat rolled down his forehead, but he didn't complain. His small hands worked with precision, proving he had done this before. The man stood back, watching silently, astonished that this boy, who couldn't have been more than 14, handled the task with such maturity and skill. For Marcus, it wasn't about impressing anyone. It was simply about doing the right thing. Within 20 minutes, the job was done. Marcus tightened the last bolt, lowered the jack, and stood up, brushing the dirt off his knees. His hands were smeared with grease, his shirt damp with sweat, but his face carried a quiet smile of satisfaction. "There you go, sir," Marcus said cheerfully. "You should be good to go now." The man stepped closer, inspecting the tire with disbelief. He couldn't hide his amazement. This young boy had done in minutes what he himself had no idea how to do. Turning his gaze back to Marcus, the man asked thoughtfully, "Tell me something. Why did you stop to help me? You could have just walked by." Marcus's smile faded into something more serious. He shrugged, looking down at the ground before answering. "Because I know what it feels like when nobody stops to help." The man tilted his head, curious. Marcus continued, his voice softer now. "My mom works late nights, and sometimes our car breaks down on the way home. I sit with her in the dark, hoping someone will pull over. But most people just drive by without even looking. I didn't want you to feel the same way." For a moment, silence hung heavy in the air. The man blinked, visibly moved by the boy's honesty. Something inside him shifted. He wasn't just looking at a kid anymore, but at someone wise beyond his years. Without a word, he reached into his wallet and pulled out a crisp $100 bill. He extended it toward Marcus. "Here, take this. You've earned it." Marcus glanced at the money, then back at the man. Slowly, he shook his head. "Thank you, sir, but I don't need money. I just wanted to help." His tone was firm but polite. That simple refusal shocked the man even more than the boy's skill with the tire. In his world, everything had a price. Every handshake, every deal, every favor. But this boy wanted nothing. No reward, no recognition. Just the satisfaction of helping. "What's your name, son?" the man finally asked, his voice softer now. "Marcus," he replied. "Well, Marcus," the man said with a faint smile as he slipped the bill back into his wallet. "I won't forget this." He climbed into his sleek car, started the engine, and drove away, leaving behind a cloud of dust and a boy with greasy hands standing on the roadside. Marcus picked up his backpack, convinced the moment was over. Little did he know, this simple act of kindness was about to change his life forever. A week later, Marcus was at home with his mother, carrying heavy grocery bags up the narrow staircase of their small apartment. Their place was modest, peeling paint on the walls, squeaky doors, and furniture that had seen better days. But to Marcus, it was home. Life hadn't been easy for them. His mother, Angela, worked double shifts at a local diner just to keep the lights on and food on the table. Most nights, Marcus ate dinner alone, waiting for her to return late and exhausted. He never complained, though. Instead, he helped however he could, washing dishes, tidying up, and sometimes skipping school trips or sports, so she wouldn't have to worry about extra expenses. That evening, just as the sun dipped low and painted the sky orange, there was a firm knock at the door. Angela set the groceries down and went to answer. The moment she pulled it open, she froze. Standing there was the man from the roadside, the one with the flat tire. But this time he wasn't frowning in frustration. His face carried a warm smile, and his sharp suit seemed almost out of place against the chipped wooden doorframe. "Hello, Marcus," he said, his voice calm yet commanding. "I told you I wouldn't forget you." Angela looked at Marcus in confusion. "Who is this?" she whispered. The man stepped inside and extended his hand politely. "My name is Richard Evans," he said. "I'm a businessman in the city. Your son helped me last week in a way I'll never forget." He explained how Marcus's selfless act had stayed with him. "In my world, people often do things only if there's something in it for them. Money, favors, recognition. But your son reminded me that true kindness still exists. And when I see something rare, I believe in protecting it." Marcus and his mother exchanged uncertain glances. What did this mean? Richard continued with a smile. "I've spoken with a private school here in town. Starting next semester, Marcus, your tuition will be fully paid. Not only that, your books, uniforms, and supplies will all be taken care of." Marcus's jaw nearly dropped. His mother's eyes brimmed with tears. She had always dreamed of giving him a better education, but never had the money to make it real. But Richard wasn't done. He reached into his jacket and handed Marcus a small envelope. Inside was a simple handwritten note that read, "Dream big, because I'll be there to help you reach those dreams." Marcus held the note close, realizing in that moment that his life had just changed forever. Months passed, and Marcus began his journey at the new private school. From the very first day, he felt out of place. The other students wore polished shoes, carried brand new backpacks, and spoke about vacations to places Marcus had only seen on TV. Their families were doctors, lawyers, and business owners. Meanwhile, Marcus came from a small apartment where every dollar counted. At first, the difference weighed heavily on him. He kept to himself, eating lunch alone and avoiding conversations. But then he remembered Richard's words. Dream big. Slowly, he found his confidence. Marcus poured himself into his studies, staying up late with books, determined not to waste the opportunity he had been given. Richard kept his promise. He visited often, sometimes sitting with Marcus after school, asking about his classes, his goals, and even his worries. What began as gratitude turned into something deeper. Richard became more than a benefactor. He became a mentor and eventually the father figure Marcus had never known. One afternoon, years into their bond, Marcus sat across from Richard in his spacious office. He looked around at the shelves lined with books and awards, then asked the question that had been on his heart for years. "Mr. Evans," Marcus began, "why did you choose to help me? Out of all the people in the world?" Richard leaned back in his chair, a thoughtful smile forming. "Because when you helped me that day, you didn't see a millionaire in trouble. You didn't see money or status or anything I could give you. You just saw a man who needed a hand. That kind of heart is rare, Marcus. And when I see something rare, I invest in it. Those words stayed with Marcus for the rest of his life. Years later, Marcus graduated with honors. He went on to start his own business, using the lessons Richard had taught him about hard work, humility, and generosity. People admired his success, but Marcus never let them forget where it all began. Whenever asked about his journey, he always told the same story, the day he stopped to help a stranger with a flat tire. And his message was always the same: one small act of kindness can change your life in ways you never imagined. Marcus's story reminds us that even the smallest act of kindness can lead to life-changing opportunities. If this story touched your heart, make sure to hit the like button, share it with someone who needs inspiration today, and don't forget to subscribe for more powerful stories just like this one. Until next time, remember, kindness always comes back.